Now, on Watching Washington, top national security officials texted war plans for an upcoming strike on Yemen to a group chat that included a journalist.
Also, a federal judge has made a ruling on a Columbia University student who was detained by immigration officials. Additionally, the House Committee has requested the information of Chinese students studying in the U.S. These stories and more straight ahead. Good evening and welcome to Watching Washington. I'm Jaden Voss.
And I'm Morgan Kane. Here's a look at what made headlines this past week. Texts from a group chat containing some of Trump's top officials have been leaked after accidentally including Jeffrey Goldberg, journalist and editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. The Associated Press has reported that the group chat included Jeffrey Goldberg in addition to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. The Signal app is used by government officials for organizational correspondence, but it is not classified and it can be hacked. But it is more encrypted and secure than conventional texting. When testifying, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard refused to acknowledge whether that information was classified.
Senator, I can attest to the fact that there were no classified or intelligence equities that were included in that chat group at any time.
So the attack sequencing and timing and weapons and targets you don't consider should have been classified?
I defer to the Secretary of Defense and the National Security Council on that question.
Well, you're the head of you're the head of the intelligence community, and you're supposed to know about classifications. So your testimony very clearly today is that nothing was in that set of texts that were classified. I'll follow up on Senator Wyden's question. If that's the case, please release that whole text stream so that the public can have a view of what actually transpired on this discussion. It's hard for me to believe that targets and timing and weapons would not have been classified.
Hegseth has not commented on why the Signal app was being used instead of a more secure platform, but has condemned and discredited Goldberg. He claims nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
The U.S. House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party has requested detailed information from Purdue and 5 other universities about Chinese students, staff, and research, citing national security concerns. Purdue has until April 1st to respond.
The letter requests information on student backgrounds, research, and partnerships with Chinese universities. Purdue has not yet commented.
China has called the request discriminatory and urged the U.S. to protect the rights of Chinese students, asking against restrictive measures despite the committee's concerns.
A federal judge has ruled that a Columbia University student who faces deportation cannot be detained by immigration officials.
Court today did the right thing, did the sensible thing, did the just and fair thing of granting her that protection and blocking ICE's attempts to detain her and deport her pending further order of the court.
The judge says the government did not prove that Yoon Seo Chung poses a risk to foreign policy. The 21-year-old is a legal permanent resident who has lived in the U.S. since she moved from South Korea at age 7. Chung participated in pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia. In her lawsuit, she accused the Trump administration of using immigration enforcement to suppress speech they dislike. Chung's attorney applauded the judge's decision.
Indiana lawmakers have sent an expansion of the state's lifeline law to Governor Mike Braun's desk, thanks in large part to advocacy from university students. The original 2012 law granted immunity to underage individuals who call for 911 for a dangerously intoxicated friend. Now, students push to extend that protection to the person receiving medical help. Purdue's student body president Jason Packard and vice president Rebecca Senior led the effort, forming the Indiana Lifeline Law Coalition. Their work helped State Bill 74 pass overwhelmingly in the House, 87-3. Supporters say the expansions will encourage students to seek medical assistance without fear of legal consequences. If signed, Indiana will join the 49 states with similar medical amnesty laws.
President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to begin dismantling the U.S. Department of Education, marking a major step towards shifting educational authority back to states. The order directs Education Secretary Linda McMahon to prepare a plan to wind down the department with the goal of returning control of education back to states and local communities. Trump says federal education spending is high, but student achievement remains too low. He argues states and local communities are better equipped to handle education policy. But the decision has drawn criticism from educators and civil rights groups who fear students who depend on federal programs may be left behind.
They're looking at putting things in different departments where they can operate very efficiently as we look on how we can shut down the Department of Education.
They not operate efficiently now?
Not as well as they should be. As a matter of fact, the president campaigned on the fact that he wanted to close down the Department of Education. And what we saw with our scores recently with the NAEP, which is our country's report card, I mean, it's unacceptable where education is in our country today.
The White House says Pell Grants, student loans, and special education funding will continue even as the department shrinks. In the meantime, the department has announced nearly 1,300 layoffs with another round of voluntary buyouts. The order is expected to face legal challenges since fully closing a federal department requires an act of Congress.
The Ukraine and Russia have agreed to a ceasefire in the Black Sea. The U.S. held separate negotiations with each side. In those meetings, the U.S. made agreements should each side honor the ceasefire. For the Russians, the U.S. expressed a willingness to lift some of its economic sanctions, which could lower maritime insurance costs and increase Russia's access to ports. After the meeting between the U.S. and Ukraine, President Vladimir Zelensky spoke about the main points of the negotiations and what conditions were agreed to.
First of all, what did we agree on? That there can be silence at sea and free navigation. The second point is not to strike at the energy system, the entire energy network of Ukraine and Russia. The third point is control and monitoring. We've agreed with the American side that we can involve third parties in addition to America. The fourth point proposed by the American side is that everyone will work to have a sustainable peace as a result.
Another condition of the agreement was that the U.S. would help Ukraine return prisoners of war from the Russians. The ceasefire will also allow Ukraine to resume exporting produce without the threat of being attacked, a breakthrough for the nation, which was one of the world's leading grain exporters before the war. The hope on all sides is that this ceasefire will lead to a lasting peace. Up next, NPR and PBS head officials were asked to testify on Capitol Hill.
Plus, Corvette had over $1 million in vehicles stolen from a factory in Kentucky. Stay with us. More Watching Washington next.
Buenos dias.
Bonjour.
Hello from South Korea.
I'm studying abroad in Valencia, Spain this semester.
I'm studying abroad in Sydney, Australia.
I'm studying abroad in Madrid, Spain.
I'm studying at Seoul National University.
At ISAE Supero in Toulouse, France.
And I'm really getting to enjoy meeting all the new people and the culture.
How different it is from Purdue University.
It is an absolutely fantastic experience. I'm living my best life.
I can't wait to see you guys all overseas soon. A bientôt.
Adios. Nos vemos de España.
I'm Rachel. I'm 19 years old. I'm a sophomore in computer engineering here at Purdue, and I'm the president of DAO. So DAO stands for Dance All Out, and it's kind of like a community where all dancers of different skill levels and artists have a space to express themselves and be artists and perform. We perform at things like the AAA Night Market and the VA, the Variation Showcase at the end of the semester. We even had our own showcase last year, and that was really exciting. DAO not only offers like weekly classes and performance opportunities, but kind of like a really strong community / family to do it with. When people talk about college, or when you see in like coming of age movies, it's all about like the main character finding like the place where they belong, whether it's in school or like extracurricular or like with their friends or another hobby. But like this could be the place where you find like your coming of age moment, and like it could be the place where you discover like a big part of your life.
Streaming service Napster has been acquired by 3D tech startup Infinite Reality. The sale price, $207 million. Napster was launched in 1999 and was one of the first platforms to use peer-to-peer file sharing technology. Napster's CEO, John Vlasopoulos, will continue in his role. He said that new immersive 3D technology will transform Napster into a next generation platform. Their vision is for fans to be able to attend virtual concerts and better connect with artists.
A fast-paced heist in Kentucky ended with 8 stolen Corvettes. The cars were estimated to be valued over $1 million. The cars were hijacked and taken straight from the factory. Police say the thieves cut through a fence in the General Motors Bowling Green assembly plant, the home of the Chevrolet Corvette since the 1980s, and made off with 8 high-end vehicles. The first clue came when a woman at a local apartment complex spotted a brand new Corvette, still with its stickers, abandoned in the parking lot. Police then alerted the plant manager, who confirmed the cars were missing. Over the next several hours, officers recovered 4 more cars from different locations. The breakthrough came when a truck driver reported a suspicious situation involving 3 new Corvettes being prepared for shipment to Michigan. He noticed damages to the cars and said the men seemed to be in a hurry. When police arrived, a 21-year-old suspect tried to escape but was eventually caught and charged with multiple felonies, including receiving stolen property, fleeing arrest, and engaging in organized crime. Another suspect fled the scene in a Jeep with Ohio tags and remains at large.
Tesla vehicles across the country are becoming targets of vandalism, and experts say that could eventually impact insurance rates for owners. The incidents are linked to public anger toward Tesla CEO Elon Musk, whose Department of Government of Efficiency has pushed for massive cuts to the federal workforce. Insurance experts warns that if vandalism continues to rise, insurers could start raising rates or even declining coverage for Teslas in high-risk areas. Teslas are already among the most expensive cars to insure due to their high-tech components and costly battery repairs. According to Bankrate, full coverage for a Tesla Model 3 costs an average of over $3,000 per year, with larger models costing even more. So far, no insurers have announced changes to Tesla's policies, but analysts say the situation is worth watching, especially for current and future Tesla owners.
A recent House subcommittee hearing sparked debate over public media funding, with lawmakers divided on whether the NPR and PBS should continue to receive taxpayer support. Representative Ronnie Jackson of Texas introduced a bill to cut all government funding, claiming the outlet pushed Democratic talking points. This follows questioning of PBS and NPR CEOs on issues like the Hunter Biden laptop story and LGBTQ+ programming.
At a time where we can't agree on basic facts, and while the free press is under attack, we need public media like PBS and NPR more than ever. A large majority of Americans say they trust PBS. And that's exactly why extremists are trying to tear it down. Public broadcasting is a tool for education, for emergencies, and a cherished part of our national fabric. We get huge benefits from a tiny federal investment. The majority and our chairwoman should drop this attempt to silence media voices they don't like.
Robert Garcia defended public broadcasting, emphasizing the role of NPR and PBS in providing educational content and trusted information, especially during times of crisis. He argued that federal funding for these outlets yields significant benefits to the public.
The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is using taxpayer dollars to actively suppress the truth, suppress diverse viewpoints, and produce some of the most outlandish, ludicrous content. After listening to what we've heard today, we will be calling for the complete and total defund and dismantling of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Marjorie Taylor Greene criticized PBS and NPR, accusing them of using taxpayer dollars to suppress diverse perspectives and promote misleading content. She called for the full defunding of corporations for public broadcasting. This division highlights a growing partisan debate over the role of public media in the U.S., with each side emphasizing different priorities for the future of NPR and PBS.
On Tuesday, Vice President J.D. Vance announced that he will be joining Second Lady Usha Vance on their upcoming trip to Greenland. His decision to join the Second Lady was made after outrage continued to grow because of the visit. Greenland's prime minister slammed the trip, describing it as highly aggressive and saying the only purpose is to demonstrate power and fuel American beliefs in Trump's mission to take over the world's largest island.
Hey guys, it's J.D. Vance, the Vice President, and you know there was so much excitement around Usha's visit to Greenland this Friday that I decided that I didn't want her to have all that fun by herself, and so I'm going to join her. I'm going to visit some of our guardians in the Space Force on the northwest coast of Greenland and also just check out what's going on with the security there of Greenland. As you know, it's really important. A lot of other countries have threatened Greenland, have threatened to use its territories and its waterways to threaten the United States, to threaten Canada, and of course to threaten the people of Greenland. So we're going to check out how things are going there.
Plans for the Greenland trip have repeatedly changed due to the heavy criticism. The original plan was for the trip to last from Thursday to Saturday. They're going to see the historical sites as well as attend the island's annual dog sled race. Officials announced the trip would now only be visiting the U.S. Space Force base in northern Greenland on Friday. They are no longer visiting any other sites and will be returning home later the same night.
Federal workers are facing chaos as they return to the office under a new mandate from the Trump administration. Employees across multiple agencies report overcrowded offices, lack of basic supplies, and even being assigned to storage units. Some workers have arrived at offices with no desk, no Wi-Fi, and even no access to bathrooms. Others are being asked to relocate without clear guidance. The government had previously embraced remote work to cut costs and improve efficiency, but now many employees say they feel forced out of their jobs. Critics argue the move is political, not practical. The USDA and other agencies say they are working to resolve issues, but frustration among federal workers continues to grow.
That's all the time we have today. Thank you for watching.
See you next time on Watching Washington.